Hello everyone and welcome back to our Introduction to Modern Licensing series. I've got Jack and Louise back with me again to talk through some frequently asked questions that we've had over the past few months around CSP. So just to kick off, Louise, what even is CSP?
So morning everybody, yeah, thanks for that, Viv. So I think we covered this last time, but just to kind of really reintroduce CSP. CSP can be quite an overwhelming topic. It stands for Cloud Solutions Provider Programme, and really it's designed to take away the pain from licensing and provide a very, very flexible model across all three Microsoft clouds. So obviously they include Azure, Microsoft 365 and Dynamics 365. The Cloud Solutions Provider Programme is also aimed at all clients of all sizes who potentially want to buy these services on a transactional basis. And the modern approach to licensing that we're seeing a lot in the market at the moment is to ensure that these services can be consumed in a flexible way and really enabling you to scale up and scale down as your business needs and client needs grow or potentially conversely reduce. And I suppose given the current situation that we've been facing with COVID, it's probably a really, really pertinent and very flexible model to adopt through some of those challenges that we as all organisations have been navigating through.
Great. And kind of following on from that, what is even the process of becoming a CSP client?
So I think when we as Visual engage with any of our clients and specifically start talking about CSP, typically there are two routes that we see our clients take. Some clients want to purchase licensing under the CSP banner in quite a transactional way, and others might want to have more of a robust, longer-term strategic partnership with their CSP provider. Visual tend to defer to the latter model, which is that kind of strategic partnership. You know, we really want to get under the covers of your licensing, making sure that you're absolutely getting the correct value, making sure that you're maximising investment within your Microsoft technology. And typically that role that we would provide is giving you that kind of strategic direction, as well as the role around kind of governance, billing, and any ongoing management, basically. So for us, when we engage with any of our clients, the first step is to accept the CSP invitation. And this really naturally kicks off the CSP onboarding process. And from here, we'll start to collaborate with you on what you purchased from a licensing perspective, and potentially what nuances that we can start to look at around billing methods to make sure that, again, you're maximising the investment that you've made in Microsoft technologies, basically.
Fantastic. And following on from that CSP invitation that clients will have to accept, what other agreements will clients sign when they become a CSP client?
Yeah, so once we've accepted that invitation, there is then a Microsoft Cloud agreement that needs to get signed. So that's kind of signed as a one-off document. Clearly, it can all be done electronically, and that's done, and that's kind of the only document really that needs to be signed after that.
Fantastic. And in terms of invoicing, how will that work for the customer? Who will be invoicing the customer?
So we are, as Visual, we're classified as an indirect reseller. So all of the invoices would come from us as your provider. And again, I think that role that I mentioned earlier on around us helping with governance and invoicing, you'll then see that, as I say, the invoices get generated and sent to you directly by Visual.
Cool. How long is the CSP agreement in place for then?
So clients can commit to agreements for either 1 or 3 years, and we quite often kind of also, I suppose, as an extension to that, get asked if there is a minimum commitment that people have to sign up to, and there isn't really any minimum commitment. So we typically do bill it monthly, and therefore maybe by month 3 or 4, if something's just not working and it's just not right for you, then we can kind of start to move the agreement away anyway from you.
Fantastic. So how will a customer know that CSP is right for their organisation?
Yeah, so we get asked this quite a lot from different clients, I suppose, in different sectors of different sizes. So, there are a lot of agreements out there with a lot of different pricing models and probably a lot of different benefits. What I would say is, from a CSP perspective, what we typically like to do is take clients through our licensing health check model to really verify whether CSP is right for you. So this basically typically looks to establish a baseline of your current licensing, whether that's running optimally, whether we can potentially turn some of those licenses and some of the functionality off during different times of the day. If I think about 365 particularly, there's obviously different SKUs that different users can get. So I think for us, we'd holistically look at all of that to make sure actually you're going in the right direction. And then we'd start to overlay, the CSP benefits and the pricing to see if that is the right structure and most efficient billing mechanism for you. So for us, we like to do that kind of thorough investigation before moving you potentially.
That's great. So I think, can a customer change their CSP provider? And I think in the same kind of thought process, can they have multiple agreements as well at the same time?
Yeah. So yes, they can. So they can move away from and change supplier. And I think the second part of the question, we see some customers that are moving to more of a modern licensing approach, but then we also see some clients that have still got a more traditional enterprise agreement that also then have purchased some parts of their licensing via CSP. So client A might have an EA and a CSP, you might have client B that has multiple CSP agreements that are providing licensing across all of those three clouds that I mentioned earlier on. I think the real value from a CSP provider, as I've already mentioned, is making sure that that role is being defined and they are constantly striving to make sure that you're running as lean as possible, as cost effective as possible, and really just helping that overall kind of thought leadership around that part of your business.
Lovely. So could a customer, say who is on an EA agreement already, migrate their existing services, Azure services in particular, to CSP?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So and we've had some experience more recently with this, where we've had some clients that are on a traditional agreement, so EA, and have wanted to move to the more flexible CSP model, probably again because of the situation we've had with COVID. So again, we'd kind of use and adopt that licensing health check to make sure that, is CSP still right? So we always want to make sure that we're doing the right thing for, you and us as two organisations coming together. And if it is the right route, there are some things that we need to do around then migrating those services over. There is more automation around that, which makes it a lot more simple and efficient, that we would take you through basically.
Cool. So could a customer just leave CSP?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it kind of goes back to the commitment question earlier on. For some reason, if it kind of transpired that it just wasn't right for you, or there were changes in your business, then absolutely you can end that relationship that we potentially as two organisations have for CSP.
Fantastic. I think now moving over to Jack. What currencies will customers receive their bills in?
So yeah, good question. So I think it depends on your agreement and typically location. So Microsoft will typically transact in dollars, but your subscription should be charged in local currency. And more of an FYI really, Microsoft use the Reuters exchange rate on a monthly basis. So that gives you a bit of indication of where you kind of stand with that as well, really.
Thank you. And so what are the main benefits of CSP over other Microsoft licensing agreements?
Yeah, so I suppose this comes down to maybe what your business or organisation needs. I think, and maybe where we see clients leveraging CSP is when they want that flexibility to change. This could be things for like seasonal staff. If we look at COVID, for example, many organisations could have stopped or moved licenses to much cheaper ones like an E1 to keep their data. If they made use of the furlough scheme. I think CSP is a great way of trialing technology or running proof of concept more on a long-term scale. As again, you can cancel at any time. You're charged per month for the consumption you receive, so you are getting kind of the true value out of it. I think lastly, one of the main benefits is paying for the services on a monthly basis. Again, rather than the traditional agreements where you pay up front. CSP, you do it on a monthly basis, you're paying for actual consumption or usage. So I think from a cash flow perspective, that's also a really big benefit as well. And there's things you can do to forecast as well usage, so that will really prepare finance teams or organisation for what that's going to look like as well.
Absolutely. So what happens when a customer doesn't pay their bill? Will their access to their tenancy or subscription be terminated in that occasion?
Yeah, again, I suppose a bit of a topic, but it depends on the agreement / payment terms you've got with your CSP partner. Again, if you're not willing to pursue, your subscription will obviously be cancelled, and you'll have kind of a finite amount of days to kind of access your data. Usually can only be done by admin as well, and services are kind of stopped. Again, just I suppose depends on terms, but usually a written notice is required to cancel the subscription. But again, goes back to what you agreed to when you signed up. But yeah, bit of a bleak topic, I suppose, but good to know the process.
Yeah, absolutely. So in terms of admin control, will the customer still maintain theirs? Yeah,
of course. So your CSP partner needs admin rights, so they can provision the right services for you as a client based on your needs. But your CSP partner should be managing your subscription, but don't get me wrong, you should still definitely have the admin rights to your own subscription. You've got the right to do what you want with it. The only issue is if the partner is removed from admin rights, the support side goes away, because there's little a partner can do without access to the tenant, especially from an admin perspective. And that kind of maybe will stop like the provisioning of new subscriptions, optimizing automatically, or moving things around when it would help.
Great, thank you. And in terms of what CSP offers, what can we buy via the program?
A lot in short, but the main services you would buy through CSP include everything around Microsoft Office 365, the Enterprise Mobility Suite, Dynamics Azure. Again, they're all based on a per user per month basis or consumption. So again, you can even buy education versions of Minecraft through CSP. So yeah, it's quite broad.
Fantastic. And obviously, CSP is a cloud solution provider program. So what happens to on-prem licensing in this program?
So yeah, I suppose a bit of a delicate one. Microsoft are slowly introducing more into CSP for on-premise licenses. I say it's slowly getting bigger as to what you can buy, but I suppose the main licenses you can get would be anything around Windows Server, Windows 7 Extended Security, and things like SQL Standard Core licenses. So again, would give you enough for kind of a basic server environment, but I suppose the idea of CSP is to move you into that cloud environment. Typically, the on-prem licenses are also a little bit more expensive because, again, it's older technology. They want you to move forward. They want you to modernize. So I suppose there are some incentives in that space to look at the newer SKUs, the newer licenses, because, again, it gets you adopting and using cloud.
Thanks. So what kind of support can a customer expect to receive from their CSP?
Yeah, good. So the reasoning behind CSP is to get CSP suppliers closer with their customers, understand the business needs in any kind of given scenario. Providers should work with clients to manage their subscription, offer technical support in some capacity. Now, this doesn't have to be a full managed service, but helping when servers are offline, etc., and leveraging Microsoft as and when appropriate, really. There's the ability to also add services on, so maybe not part of a CSP contract, but value adds that partners can deliver standalone, maybe when supplying CSP as well. This can offer, usually include services like, optimization. So again, I've talked about it a little bit before, but maybe looking at the estate and seeing if the current config is right, set up is the most cost-effective way. Similarly with Office 365, if they're not using all of the E5 license, can we move some users to E3 or maybe make the most of the licenses they have got? Is there an adoption problem? Can we help them with there? Again, I suppose it's a bit of an odd one because it's kind of not one size fits all. It's really what the client needs, and it's kind of building around that, if it's a need for skills and things like that. And I think that's where CSP and that support aspect comes in, really.
Amazing. Thank you for that. So what kind of price assurances are there under CSP?
Yeah, so when you purchase Office or Dynamics, your prices are locked in for kind of 12 months. That's your typical minimum commitment in terms of those licenses. On Azure, it's slightly different. So the month generally fluctuates based on the Reuters exchange rate. And again, Microsoft will take a view on that on a monthly basis and move that into what you've been using in Azure, and we'll convert that into your local currency. So yeah, I suppose Office and Dynamics is quite fixed. Azure can change quite a lot, but obviously exchange rates don't really seem to change that much anyhow. But yeah, a lot of it will be accessible through your partner anyway. We'll be told what's going to be coming anyway.
Cool. And I guess following on from that, can we achieve any additional discounts for our customers via CSP?
Yeah, so there are ways to maybe discount your usage. On Azure, you can commit to, I think Louise mentioned earlier around reserved instances. So this is where you typically commit to a resource in Azure for 12 months or 36 months. Technically, you can cancel it, but there is a charge there. But the discount for choosing a reserved instance can sometimes take roughly 30% off your pay-as-you-go price. So they're also doing a 3-year reserved instance, which again offers a bigger discount. The best way I think to look at if you would need this service is looking at what servers you would need on kind of a more than 25-day or more basis per month. Because if it's kind of on that time, you are going to use a service, you would benefit from an RI, and there's going to be some significant savings there. When it's not right to do is when you've got a couple of services that spun up for maybe a couple of hours a month, because that's where it'll be becoming quite an expensive resource, and actually the pay-as-you-go route will be more suited. But again, just to kind of reinstate, when you do go down the RI route, you are committing to Microsoft using that resource for 12 months. So again, you can cancel it. There is a charge, but again, you are expected to use that.
Yeah, great. And the last question that I've got here is, as my organisation changes, how will CSP support those changes?
Yeah, so I think with a lot of the questions, we've kind of already covered that, but I suppose just to maybe reiterate some of the key points, it's mainly around that kind of optimization piece. So maybe as your organisation grows in size, if it grows or decreases, there's things you can do on optimization of the service. So again, going back to Azure, that actually, are you sitting on the right resources? Could things be moved around? Could we save some cash? Could you get better performance? There's things like that to consider. So in the Dynamics and Office space, you've got to look at, are the SKUs still right for the personnel and roles? Have you just taken a view to roll out E5 across the organisation? Actually, 4 months in, you're realising that half the SKUs in E5 aren't being used. Could you benefit from an E3? Get a bit of a cost advantage there. And similarly, actually, if you do want to start using those things, are the things the partner can do to help you roll it out? Have you got a skills problem? Is it adoption? Is it you maybe paid for the license but actually don't know how to configure it? I think that's where, again, your partner will come to help you. And I think, again, I've kind of talked about it a lot, but the main benefit, I think, throughout an organisation is that flexibility. Again, the ability to change on the fly. New users come in, you can add them on. If users leave, you can remove them from the system. And again, compared to kind of the existing license agreements like EAs, you'd usually have to forecast them on a yearly basis, your employee count, and pay for those licenses regardless if you're going to use them or not. In CSP, it really is it is consumption, it is on usage, so you kind of get that true value really.
Lovely.
So, yeah,
Thank you. Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much for you both joining us today. And that's all the questions we've got for this session. If anyone's got any further questions that they would like to ask, please send it in to inquiries@Visual. We'll be happy to help you out with those and any other requirements you've got. Thank you both for your time.
Thanks.
No, thank you.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye.